Thank you for flying with Panther Helicopters. Please pay close attention to the following information. It's essential for your safety and your comfort and for the protection of the aircraft. This information is not meant to scare you. We simply want to make sure that you understand your responsibilities as a passenger.
Panther Helicopters has one of the finest maintained fleets in the industry and one of the best safety records in the business. Panther mechanics are all certified professionals with years of experience. Their goal is to ensure a record of reliability and efficiency that few can match. Before your flight, your pilot will have fueled your aircraft and checked current weather conditions and forecasts. Your pilot will have chosen a route designed for your maximum comfort and safety, filed a flight plan, and given your aircraft a thorough visual inspection. When you arrive at the Panther terminal, you'll be required to weigh yourself and your baggage and to sign the passenger manifest. Please note that smoking is permitted only in designated areas, not in the passenger lounge, and never on the ramp, near fuel tanks, or during your flight. While waiting to board the aircraft, you should remain at a safe distance from the helicopter until you are directed by the pilot or crew member to board. Please note that during the startup sequence, the rotor is unstable and can droop dangerously low. Make eye contact with the pilot or crew member before you approach, and approach in full view of the pilot or the crew member. When you do approach the helicopter, always approach from the front or the side, never from the back. If the engine is running and the main rotor blade is turning, make sure you carry, do not wear, any hats, glasses, or caps that might be blown away by the main rotor wash. If you're carrying something that's 3 feet long or longer, hold it horizontally to avoid contact with the main rotor blade. Again, stay away from the rear of the helicopter and the tail rotor. In fact, you should never go any further beyond the baggage compartment door than is strictly necessary to load your baggage or freight. If the helicopter is equipped with floats, please take care not to step on them as you enter and exit the aircraft. In the unlikely event that you are boarding a helicopter parked on the side of a hill or on a slope, passengers should never approach or depart a helicopter on the upslope side, as the main rotor blade will dip dangerously low to the upslope ground. If your flight is over water, you are required to don a flotation vest prior to boarding. You put the vest on like a jacket and pull the strap to secure your body. It must be worn for the duration of the flight. If you're unfamiliar with the vest, or if you have any questions on usage, please ask your pilot or a crew member. The pilot in command will ensure that all carry-on personal gear, equipment, and cargo is properly secured in the cabin prior to takeoff. Special care must be taken to keep items from interfering with the full movement of the flight controls or from blocking access to any emergency exit. Loose items in the cabin or cockpit can become lethal weapons in the event of an accident. Never throw any item, however small, out of the aircraft window during flight. Even an item as small as a package of gum can seriously damage the spinning tail rotor. The pilot is also responsible for making sure that any passengers who are carrying firearms or weapons comply with the appropriate regulations or surrender the weapons before they enter the flight area. Except for law enforcement personnel or other specifically approved purposes, weapons are not allowed in a place that is accessible to a passenger during flight.
Once on board, there are some simple things that you need to do to make sure that your flight is as safe as possible. And in the event of an emergency, you need to know what steps to take.
After your belongings are secured, take your seat and fasten your seatbelt. Seatbelts should be worn low and snug and must be worn for the entire flight, including takeoff and landing. If you need help fastening, tightening, or unfastening your seatbelt, please ask a crew member or the pilot. Also, the flight will be noisy, so once on board, passengers and crew members must wear hearing protection, even on short trips. You can pick up a pair of earplugs from the box at the sign-in desk in the passenger waiting area. Before takeoff, carefully review the briefing cards located near your seat. These cards have very important information on safety equipment and emergency procedures. Also, all passengers are required to comply with the instructions on any posted sign or placard. If you have brought any portable electronic devices, cell phones, iPods, laptops, or Blackberries, please turn them off and store them for the duration of the flight. The use of these items in flight is prohibited by FAA regulations. Because this aircraft engages in overwater operations, you need to understand ditching procedures. First, take a moment to locate the exit doors on the aircraft. Depending on the type of helicopter you're on, you will either need to rotate the handle and push the door to exit the aircraft, or lift the handle and push. Passengers seated adjacent to these exits should know how to operate them and be willing to take on this responsibility in the event of an emergency. The inflation of your flotation vest is easy. The device is single bladder, single pull, single tube. Finally, the pilot will show you where fire extinguishers are located on your particular aircraft. In the event of a landing on water, the helicopter must not be evacuated until the rotor has stopped, unless otherwise instructed by the pilot. Passengers should not inflate their life vests until they are outside the aircraft. When the helicopter lands, you should remain seated until you're instructed by the pilot to disembark. When you leave, please make sure that your safety belts are tucked inside your seats and not dangling where they can become caught in the helicopter doors. As you exit, please make sure the helicopter doors are secure so that they don't damage the aircraft. Leave the helicopter in the same way you approached, with care and in a crouched stance. Stay crouched until you are well clear of the rotor blade tip path. Finally, FAA regulations require that while on board and during flight operations, all passengers must obey the instructions of the aircraft pilot in command.
If you have any questions about anything that you've seen in this presentation, please make sure that you ask a crew member before you leave the waiting area. Again, thank you for choosing Panther. Have a safe and pleasant trip.